All right, guys, welcome to week 3. Can you believe we're in week 3? Uh, this week, we're going to have fun with color. That's what it's all about. So you sort of created your brand, your coloring book. Now you get to use it. All right. Has anybody ever seen this logo? Let's speak up because I can't see the chat.
No.
This is Full Sail's original logo. Originally, the company, the guy who founded it, started it in his van. Did you know that? So this looks appropriate for a van. The idea of Full Sail is that we help you overcome obstacles to get to your dreams. And certainly a galleon flying through the sky gets over obstacles, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like it's sailing to your dreams somewhere. So there's some method here. There's some logic to this. You see sort of what they're going for. Now, what's not good about this logo?
There's way too much detail.
Yes, it's too complex, a lot of detail. You've got type that's in 3D perspective plus chrome plus an outline. It just doesn't work from a practical standpoint in small sizes and all the ways logos have to work. So they went from this logo to this one. So they lost the chrome, the 3D, real world education was added. And the big news, it's no longer a ship. Now it's a plane. What I heard was they were no longer allowed to use the ship image. So they quickly decided to use a plane, which is more sort of technologically advanced and also flies over things to get over obstacles to take you to dreams. The difference is that ships don't really fly. So that was a bit of paradox that gave it kind of a magical feeling. And planes actually do fly. So it's in a sense more mundane. Also, the name of the school now no longer makes sense because it says Full Sail and there's a plane. What else is what's not good about this logo from a graphic standpoint?
I feel like the plane is it's there, but it's not really drawing my attention.
The plane?
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So the plane is in a
Very
kind of,
bland.
yeah, it's in gray. Everything else is in bright colors. There's a lot of color going on. They're using sort of an Art Deco style, which was big in the 90s. So there's all these additional elements like the red stripes and the turquoise rectangle that's at an angle. One of the things that drives me crazy is that little tip of blue that sticks out at the top. It's just like they didn't like quite make it match. I would have just taken that off, but so anyway, so they went from that logo to this logo. Now we're simplified. We've just got type and an icon. What's not good about this one? Is it easy to read the name of the school?
Peter, they're having a lot of difficulties. I am as well. You're breaking up quite a bit and it's freezing.
It's
That's what's
freezing.
going on. I'm having the same issue on my end. So that's the delay in their responses.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing. I mean, I'm seeing the same logo as before.
They're still
Can
seeing
you
the
guys
one that
still hear
looked
me?
very Art Deco.
I can hear you. It's still broken up though.
Yeah. All right. I think my headphones were doing something. All right. Can you see? Are you seeing the Full Sail logo with the plane in front of the type?
No.
It's the '90s one.
It's still the '90s one, though. This is not fun. 70s, 90s.
The screen is static for us. It's still 90. There
There
we
it
go.
goes.
All right. So this is the 2000s, really. It's hard to read the type, right?
It's like bright yellow on bright white. It's kind
Yeah,
of
color
a
and white is not good.
painful.
Yeah, so this is where we ended up. So you can sort of see how this configuration of icon logo type hits a lot of the practical notes that you need for a logo. It makes it very legible. Is everybody seeing the contemporary wholesale logo now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And they have a vertical horizontal version. The horizontal version, the only time I've ever seen that used is in the website. You don't really see it elsewhere. So preferred is the vertical. So you have in the Full Sail logo a guide for how to make logos work, just proportionally, sort of functionally. All right, so you've all created your logos at this point. Today, we're going to talk about identity packages and color palette. So identity package is a term that graphic designers use, and it usually refers to business card, letterhead, and envelope. That's standard sort of stationery packet. It could include other things. What you're looking at here is a student example, and you're going to use a template just like this to create your own identity package for your brand. Identity is, it's not the brand, it's sort of like the expression of the brand. So it's how it gets put out there. So for instance, if I say Disney, what comes to mind? What image?
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey
And
Mouse. yeah.
Castle.
And the castle. Those are two iconic images that Disney has associated with their brand. They're not the brand themselves, but they're touch points. So when you see that castle at the beginning of a movie, when you see Mickey Mouse ears anywhere, you get that association and all the other sort of emotional associations. But in addition to that, they have things like vehicle wraps. They have how people answer the phone, costumes, the fact that they call their employees cast members. All these things are what we call touch points for the brand identity. So it can be quite complicated and enormous in the case of Disney. But for your company, you're going to really just do a stationery package, letterhead, business card, and envelope. You know, when you go to Best Buy, you see the guys in the blue shirt with the yellow logo, you know they work there. It starts to build a sort of sense of consistency. You know, they use all the signage in the store as consistent, and consistency makes us feel safe and perhaps willing to take out our credit card and spend some money. This is a project by Michael Beirut from Pentagram, Bobby's Burger Palace. You can see in the burger in the logo, right? And they've got this kind of soft color palette, look, ketchup and mustard with a bit of green. And you can see how it works pretty effectively in the interior decor, on the signage, on all the packaging, on the business card. So you start to build this consistency through all these different attributes, different experiences. This company, you can see these different elements. They have banners, interior signage, presentation template, printed piece, and a billboard. They all feel like they go together, don't they? What is it about them that makes them feel like they go together?
They all have the same color palette and kind of like look and feel to them.
Yes, look and feel is a key phrase. So the color palette, and it's not just the color palette, they're using a gradient in a specific kind of way. Even though each one of these elements is completely different from each other, different purpose, different information on them, they have this similar look using this knockout element, white element in front of it with the soft gradients and the color palette. So it brings it together in what I would call family resemblance. So if you think about a family resemblance, like a brother and sister, They're different genders, they're different ages, yet somehow there's something about them that looks like they've come from the same family. This is kind of what you're trying to achieve when you create an identity package. Here's another company, Bespoke Trading Company. What are they doing to make it look like a family? What are the graphic elements they're using?
It's very very desaturated in tone, or like similar dark tones, woods, and like the same typeface.
Yes, the typeface, the desaturated kind of look. There's natural colors, natural paper being used. Even the paper choices, the cotton string on the package. These are all conscious choices that connect to the brand and make everything feel like they go together. The muted photographs, the kind of wax seal, which is a bit retro there. So this is how you're going to create a great identity, by pulling together graphic elements, your logo included, to give a sense of that they all go together. If you think of your brand as a person, you know, a personality, that kind of helps. If you see these four people, one of them, Martha Stewart, went to jail, and yet she's a woman in charge of $1 billion media company. And the way she did that is by maintaining consistency. So she doesn't, you know, talk about going to jail a lot. She still seems like the nice lady next door who makes cupcakes. But in reality, you know, like, she's a very powerful person. And she understands the value of brand and consistency. So she's been really good. And if anybody's seen, she does a show with Snoop Dogg. Have you guys ever seen that? The reason that works is because both she and Snoop Dogg have super consistent brand identities, part of their personality. So they can play off each other. If either one had a weaker brand, they would be absorbed by the other. So it's really fun to see strong brands like that play together. All right, so as you go forward, you're going to look at different areas of visual exploration. And this is just to kick off your imagination. When you start to think about designing these pieces, what are the elements that you could use? So the first one is nature. There's so much to draw from nature. Nature may be an integral part of your brand, or maybe it's the opposite. It's very unnatural, you know, in some way. But you should think about that. Textures like stone, wood, bark. There's all kinds of textures, water. You can use all those different kind of elements in pieces on, in the background and things. Patterns are so fun to work with in Illustrator. You can create patterns. You can make them out of pieces of your logo or rejected logos and different things, and so you can play with that. Paper texture is another important thing, and so you can simulate paper texture by taking an image of paper and putting that in the background of some of these elements. But as you saw, like with the Bespoke Trading Company, like, the paper texture is part of the brand, part of the look. Graphic elements, dingbats, little signature graphics, patterns that, you know, borders, using a pattern brush, creating a border, all those kinds of things. And then, of course, color. And it's more than just flat color. You can use gradients. What's the color combination? We're going to talk about color palettes in a little bit. So these are the areas that you really get to play around with while you're doing your identity package. All right, this is a logo for Lucy's Fried Chicken by Pentagram. Again, Michael Beirut, a wonderful word mark done in beautiful proportions. What's your impression of Lucy's Fried Chicken? Would you eat there?
It seems a little more like fancy and upscale, maybe.
Yeah, it does seem fancy. It's not Popeyes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe the food's a little better there, right? That could be a good thing. All right, here's the neon sign. Now what do you think?
It's not so classy.
All right, so you laughed. So there's something playful, whimsical about it, perhaps?
It's a completely different tone.
Yes. So describe the tone.
This makes me feel like driving down the highway in the middle of nowhere. You just see a diner. It's
Yeah.
just trying everything to grab your attention.
All right. So that diner in the middle of nowhere, is that a positive association?
Depending upon your background. I mean, I've been to some cool diners.
Uh-huh.
I'd probably eat there, but I wouldn't expect anything like from the last logo.
So a little more retro, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Old fashioned.
like 50s kind of.
Yeah, 50s kind of. The pinup figure doesn't look like a contemporary, sex symbol. She looks like something from the 40s to me. So retro, playful, fun, whimsical. Are those positive associations for a fried chicken restaurant?
I don't know. I guess like
All right, so think about
I wouldn't, but
most people have a belief that food used to be better. That grandma's recipe is the best one. That food in the way it was done in the past is better than it is today. I think that that's a universal belief. I don't know that it's true, but I think that that helps the retro thing. I think playful and fun is related to the fact that fried chicken is not something you eat for your health. You have to be in a sort of whimsical mood to say, okay, I'm going to consume fried chicken, which is incredibly unhealthy. And there's a bit of hedonism, of sort of pleasure seeking and all that, which also kind of goes with the fried chicken, right?
Yeah, what I got from the first logo, I kind of felt like I didn't know what the brand was about.
Yes.
So it made me feel like, maybe I might not want to go there because I couldn't get anything from it.
Right.
With this one, it's more interesting. They put the woman there, she looks alluring, kind of makes you want to come in and eat as opposed to the other logo. That's my take.
Yes. All right. So this is what we call brand touch points. So the more information you get, the clearer picture you have of the company, of what they do, of the brand. That's exactly what they're looking for. So if you see all these elements, so they definitely playing up the retro thing. They've got this wood panel background on the menu, the little LC, which is kind of like the sun of the logo, the chicken, this old rendering of a chicken. And then the online menu even has a sort of retro type treatment. So you get a bigger picture, right?
Yeah, I like how the LC is encased in an egg. It's pretty cool. Play on their brand.
Yeah, so even they want to have an icon as well. So that kind of helps. All right, here's Bone Daddy's restaurant. What's your impression of this one? Would you eat there?
it reminds me of like Southern mixed with Louisiana, kind of like spicy.
Definitely has a Louisiana feeling. I think the art is sort of like that primitive American art that comes from the Deep South. Do you think the Deep South is a good association for a barbecue?
I'd say so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No kidding, right? The color palette. What do you see in the color palette?
It's bright, but also desaturated. Like everything has like a kind of matte finish to it.
Yes.
So it's very inviting.
So there's no white paper anywhere. The paper has a tone to it. And you're right, it's desaturated. To me, it's ketchup and mustard, or like
Oh yeah.
barbecue sauce. But it definitely feels like food. Like if you put a fluorescent green in here, it would turn you off. It wouldn't, but it definitely has a food feeling, right? You can smell the smoke.
Yeah, it's very smoky.
So if you're a
I think
vegetarian, you would definitely know not to go there. All right, here is Swing Beer. This is a beer company. What comes to mind when you see this?
I think a circus.
Yeah, it looks like a circus. I don't really know what circus has to do with beer.
Yeah.
But this is like well designed and well branded, but wrong.
Yeah, I felt like I was looking at a bag of like popcorn.
Yeah.
It was.
Is it cotton candy flavored beer? And that sounds gross. So
No,
no.
thank you.
So here's something to think about. You need to be branded, but you also need to be the right brand. All right, here's Kate Peters Photography. What kind of photography do you think she does?
Hmm. I want to say wedding, but
There's
I
nothing
don't
to
know.
give you any indication, right?
Oh, it's probably baby because of blue and pink, maybe
Yeah, that's a
like
good guess.
baby photography.
To me, this is really well designed work, but it's not branded enough. So I don't really get a sense of it. I can't really tell. And to me, it looks like red and blue. I like the logo. It kind of has like these things coming into focus, but not quite enough branding. So you can design things really well and not have enough branding. So you're trying to strike that balance, be the right brand and enough design. And as I said before, consistency is really key. Let's look at some more examples. All right, so this is an example of an identity package for an architect, and it shows you structurally how you're going to work on this. First of all, the letterhead is a frame, basically, for a letter. A letter goes in the center part, so you don't want to put anything in the middle. The logo is you worked really hard on your logo. Now it's the hero of the page up at the top. The information goes out of the way, neatly organized at the bottom. This one has a listing of all the partners, including their address at the bottom. The back of the paper is printed with a flood blue, which is kind of nice. The envelope, the logo on the front in that upper left corner, that's kind of classic standard look. The return address is probably on the back flap. The business card, the back of the business card has just the icon from the logo. The front has the logo, full logo, and then you see the name and the title of the person are the next most important thing. So they're kind of called out. The rest of the information is organized out of the way. And then this other piece is a note card envelope. Here's another architect. So again, the logo at the top, the information organized, and a lot of space for a letter. They blind embossed and was pressed into the paper without ink. The icon FW at the bottom right. This distinctive yellow color for the envelope, you know, you get a letter from them, you know you got it from them. The business card has this embossing on it as well. And the full logo's on the back of the card and no logo on the front. You can do that as well. Lucky Bucket Brewing, so they printed flood color on the flap of the envelope, which is nice branding. They've got sort of a wax seal going logo, LB. The whole thing has sort of a retro look. The paper quality is sort of a cream color paper. It's not full white. Thinking about the type of paper it's going on is another key attribute here. So when you look at this, this is a motion graphic company in Minnesota, and so they're called Motion 504. They're sort of North Woods feeling. They're using the paper quality, you know, they're using like standard paper for you get from the stationery store, but in an unusual way with the sticker. It kind of gives it a down home kind of branded look. The type is kind of modeled like it's printed up from woodblock type or something. And here is a wonderful letterhead package for this Club Noble. The letterhead has a very subtle border around the edge of a kind of floral pattern, which is really beautiful. There's a bit of gold foil in this bright red color. The logo on the back flap of the envelope. The business card is very simple. Capture Studios, again, using a distinctive color and a pattern. They're using a pattern that sort of wraps around the card in an interesting way. They put the return address information vertically on the letterhead, which is a different way of doing it. Still works though. Carthage Stoneworks. So when you look at this, what's the feeling you get? Like, what would be some of the keywords for Carthage Stoneworks?
I guess Carthage gives you that hard work sort of feel.
Yeah.
Definitely gives you a feeling of like grit.
Yeah. Hmm. So what are the elements do you think that convey that?
Certainly, the rigidness of the outline of the circle that has the icons in it. It kind of
Yeah,
looks like a saw blade.
yeah, it does. It looks like a stone saw blade.
Yeah.
That's a good observation. It kind of has the old Union logo look from the turn of the last century. Uh, Also, paper color. Look at the envelope. What color is that?
Looks like a gray.
Yeah, it's a
So
stone. It's stone colored, right? The paper stock is deliberately picked to look like stone. It definitely has a retro feeling. Why do you think retro would be a good association with stoneworks?
I guess in this day and age, hard work, physical work is kind of not really sought after when in the job field. Like a lot of guys back then did a lot of hands-on labor.
Yeah, so there's a sense that it used to be done better, that the old ways are better, right?
Yeah.
So they're playing that up by doing this sort of retro look, and they even have this line because experience means as much as expertise. So if they were like a cell phone company, that retro wouldn't be a good thing, right? You want to be contemporary, but they want to be old-fashioned deliberately. All right, here's a dentist. What's your feeling about the dentist?
I mean, I guess they try to get your attention color-wise first because you know what? Not everybody enjoys going to the dentist. So it's actually a really fun design.
It is a fun design. I think it's trying to make people feel more comfortable, right, about going to the dentist.
Yeah.
So the design has this kind of whimsical, fun thing, but the type treatment's a bit serious, kind of like very, all caps, very serious, but they're saying funny things in so there's a literal tongue in cheek.
Almost looks like Blueprint,
What's that?
like how they have the like the blue paper with like the white lines and stuff. Like it just
Yeah,
looks kind
blueprints.
of like Blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like mouthwash, the color.
Yeah.
The yellow, some people have trouble with the yellow, but it's very bright yellow, so it's kind of cheerful. It's not dingy yellow.
When you say Blueprint, sorry, it made me think of X-rays. Also, when you go to the dentist and you get
Yeah.
like
And
X-rays, I'm looking at it.
right, in a soft sort of way, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Charleston Naturally. I love this identity package. The logo, it looks like a crane, but it's actually two leaves. But you see here those lines going horizontally at the bottom of the letterhead. What do they look like?
I'm thinking wind. It looks like it's moving. It's in motion.
Could be wind. I think it looks like water, kind of gentle
Yeah.
water in the Bay of Charleston. And but any sort of natural, it's got a natural feeling. It's not just a hard line. He stood it upright in the envelope, and now it looks like seagrass. You can see that sort of little gentle bit of green behind the logo. The paper stock is this kind of natural paper that kind of fits with that look, the natural look. When you look at the business card, it's die cut into this leaf shape. It's blind embossed, like without ink. And it feels like something you might find on the beach, right? The business card. Pretty good, huh? I like that. So, business cards. This is all the stuff that could be on a business card. You certainly wouldn't put all that on a card, but this is typically what you get. Person's name, their title, the company name, which is going to be in the logo. The address, phone number, email, and web address all can be pushed sort of out of the way down below. Keep it simple. Try to keep your design simple to start, and be very deliberate with the branded elements that you add in. You don't want to be sort of decorating. You want to think about like, what's my system for conveying the brand? Letterhead, 8.5 by 11. You're going to use a template for this. And there's a video that's going to take you through the template, how to use it. Envelope, it doesn't get anything in the upper right because that's where the stamp goes. In the lower part, there's a barcode that goes there. If you put a design there, post office will put a white sticker over it so they can print the barcode. The back of the envelope, sometimes you have a square flap or a rounded flap.
Text message.
Yes? Is there a question?
Sorry.
Okay. Letterhead gets the logo, the address, the phone number, the web address. Envelope, the logo and the address, but not, well, maybe the web address. This is the template, and as I said, there's a video to go through it. I'm going to jump over and show you a student example. This is Elena's. She did Bermuda T, and I'll just take you through the first few pages of her. There's her creative brief, her word mark, her target audience, inspiration, competitors. You just see she's designed every page of the presentation to look neat and clean. Everything's lined up nicely. She customized the top and bottom bars with her assigned color. And there are sketches. This is the part you just finished this week, the logo process. So this was her first icon, her second one, and her third. She explored pretty well with type and different elements. And so here it is, 1, 2, 3. We went with number 3. And there is her logo in black and white. So your logo in black and white shouldn't have any gray or anything in it, no gradients, all that. It's just black and white. Then you're going to do this sort of color exploration. It's titled color palette, but it's not really your color palette. So this is going to be where you take your assigned color and you explore the color relationships it has. This does not in any way dictate the colors that you have to use for your designs. There's her color logo. There's her color palette. So you're going to create a color palette. And there's her business card, vertical, horizontal, letterhead, and envelope. You can see each one of these pieces is branded. It has a continuous look that ties it together. She used secondary elements. So her logo is one element, and then these leaves are a second element. This gold foil border is a secondary element. She used this nice border on the letterhead as a secondary element. And then this, more of the leaves. So once you've got to create your system, it's easy to create a lot of different items. That's what you're going to do by Sunday. This is a mock-up that you're going to use, a Photoshop mock-up. When you put it all into place, it looks like it's printed. It's a lot of fun. And I can tell you from personal experience that when you do this for a client and you put it together like this, they go, wow, my stuff's all done. Here's some money, go print it. So this is the thing, it's a little weird. You're gonna design first and then come up with your color palette. Because as you design, you're gonna experiment with colors, and once you get settled and you feel like you've got it nailed, then you're gonna document the colors, and that's what your color palette is about. This, as I said, is really just color exploration, should be renamed. The color palette, when you finally get there and you're figuring out your colors, start with Pantone, move to CMYK, and then RGB. The reason for that is Pantone has the least number of colors in it. So if you know somebody's going to print something, I always start with Pantone because I want to use Pantone for printing. Pantone doesn't have every color. So if I pick a color in RGB and then I want to print it, it's going to not work. It needs to be a different color. So start with Pantone, move to CMYK because that has the next most colors, and then RGB has the very most colors, so you'd want to do that last. Make sense?
There's a video explaining how to do the color palettes.
Yes,
Okay, great.
but part of it is what I just told you as well.
Yeah.
All right. So you must have 5 colors in your color palette. One of your colors is the assigned color. A lot of people, I say this every month, and they give me 3 colors, and they get points off. So, and also, no black, no white. So 5 colors, no black, no white. Black and white are sort of a given. You're creating a 5-color palette. Now you may say, my logo only has 2 colors. Okay, doesn't matter. Come up with 5 colors that work together. You want to look at your keywords that you've been given in your creative brief and make sure that your color palette sort of reflects that. I mean, if your keywords are bold, strong, powerful, and then your color palette is all pastel and soft, and you got to say, well, I'm not hitting it. 5 colors is a typical color palette, but you could have more. But I want you to definitely get in the discipline of having 5. You're going to manipulate these 4 levers of color: hue, saturation, brightness, and temperature. The hue is going to be the first color is dictated by your assigned color, and the rest of them are up to you. So this is where you look for inspiration, and you look around you. And as I said in the first day of class, this is where you become a student of color, and you look at all kinds of things. You look at nature, you look at great photography. This is Annie Leibovitz. You look at fashion. You may say, I don't really know much about fashion. Well, now you're a designer. You look at everything, trying to understand what's going on in the fashion world. This is Tilda Swinton. Anybody recognize her?
Yes, she's one of my favorite actresses.
Yeah, right. She was in, most people your age remember her from the Narnia stories. She was the ice queen.
Yeah, I believe she was in Doctor Strange.
Yes, she was in that too. She was in a lot.
She
She's
was
been in a lot of
in
movies.
Lady in the Water, which I really liked a lot, which was really good.
So this wonderful photo, which was from Women's World Daily, is one of those great fashion images. This is from the Oscars 2018. Any idea why they're all wearing black?
I think black is the most elegant color. It fits everyone really well, no matter like your skin tone.
That's an excellent answer. The reason they're wearing black is because they were supporting the Time's Up movement. It was a political statement, which seems kind of anemic nowadays, but yeah, so still Hollywood, so there's some bling, some metallics and stuff, but definitely making a statement with color. This is from the Golden Globes 2019. So some new colors come in the picture. They're a little darker, more somber kind of colors. I forgot the first actress name. The Quiet.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, Emily Blunt. So it's kind of metallic, almost silver, pewter kind of look. But I always watch these award shows because I want to see what the trends are in color. And of course, from that same year, the star of the show, this color was so stunning when you saw it compared to everybody else. And being Lady Gaga, of course, she kind of goes her own way, right? The way it almost clashes with the red carpet, I think, is totally intentional. It's really kind of fun. And then this is from this year. She went with all black because why do the same thing 2 years in a row? But things keep changing, right? This is the Oscars 2020. Muted color palette. You can almost see a political climate, things get serious, people's colors change, colors get more somber, more muted. I think metallics have been on the rise for a few years too. You got any thoughts on fashion, Sabrina?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yeah, it's if you follow the Pantone website, they're always issuing the color trends report, usually about a year to 2 years in advance. It sounds like a conspiracy, but it really is 8 people who meet in secret every year, and they determine the colors that are going to be used 2 years from the date. And it takes that long because all the fabrics have to be dyed, the clothing has to be made in China and Thailand and Vietnam and what have you, and then shipped back to the States for mass consumption. So, the colors are always evolving and changing, and they try to predict it based off of many factors. They try to, analyze political trends. They try to analyze movies that are going to be showcased. Just various things come into play, but it always begins in the world of fashion and then disseminates to all the other fields.
Yeah, and I think that some of these designers who are designing for the award shows are kind of on the cutting edge. Like they probably are 2 years in advance of what everyone else is going to do. So, but yeah, I do. It's wonderful. Even in the world of automobiles, cars, what colors are cars going to be? These are all major industry forces at work. So down to the more artistic side, Matisse said, when I put colors together, they have to join a living chord, like a musical chord or harmony. If you think about it, color is light vibrating, just like sound, is air vibrating. So there's some similarity there. And Matisse was just so prolific, and he loved color. He lived in a part of the world where, the Mediterranean was and all that. So there were bright colors, really amazing. And then this is a painting. Have anybody seen this painting before? This is by Andrew Wyeth.
Yes, I actually saw that in a MoMA like 3 months ago.
Really? That's
Yes.
wonderful. Yeah, so this painting is most often, so very different than Matisse, right? But this painting is most often cited because of its dynamic composition. The horizon line's really high. The figure just sort of pointing at the farmhouse there. I love the sort of ghostly little birds flying out of the barn there. But what I want you to look at is this winter grass. It looks like dead grass, right? But when you really look at it, Wyeth is painting on a wooden board, and he scratches into the paint to make the grass. But there's an enormous amount of color in there. There's this undulating orange, green, turquoise, some blue even. Do you see all that color sort of coming to life there? It gives the painting an overall sort of richness to it, and it in a way sort of enhances the realism. What do you guys think?
I think the more you look at it, the more you see. It's really cool. You can see all the little details.
Yeah.
It's actually fascinating when I'm looking at the board how he chose to have the grass near the house kind of cut.
Right.
And further you're away, that's wild grass. It's really cool.
So this painting's called Christina's World, and it was his neighbor, Christina Olson, who couldn't walk. And so it's kind of like her longing to be mobile, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of got a poetry and story to it that's amazing. I'm so glad you got to see it in the museum.
Yeah, it was my first time visiting, because I actually live in New York, but I started working at the MoMA. I had the opportunity to go there and see everything, and I was just blown away.
That's great. I worked in the MoMA too when I was in college.
Oh, awesome.
I handed out audio tours.
Oh, so cool. I'm jealous. I want to actually work in the MoMA.
They actually had a Picasso exhibit when I was there.
They do still have some of his most famous paintings, which it was amazing to see in person.
Yeah,
like
it was cool. Like after it's closed, you get to walk through the museum.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's another artist. This is Albert Bierstadt. Bierstadt was a German-American who moved to America in the mid-1800s, and he went out to the American West and painted these amazing canvases. They're like 15 feet tall of the American West, and people back east saw these and couldn't believe it was real. He was part of what they called the Hudson River School, and if you think about it, before the time of electric light, these canvases have this certain glow to them. People were amazed. They just seem to emanate light, the glowing light of the sun coming through the clouds. And it sort of spurred on Western settling. This is another one of his paintings, the Domes of Yosemite. And if you see pictures of Yosemite, it looks just like this still today. But it just, there's a grandeur to the lighting, to the color. It's got a bit of that sort of European tradition in it. This is Gauguin. Gauguin was a bank teller at age 40. He was considered a failure by his father. He was supposed to go to law school and he never went. But what I want you to look at here is these wooden planks, the boards of the floor. This enormous amount of color, of undulating color, of bounce light on the feet of green, turquoise, orange. The more you look at it, the more colors you see. And this was part of his aesthetic, this strong color. I love these mangoes in the foreground. Mangoes are this wonderful natural gradient from green to red, which are complementary colors, but in one piece of fruit. So what can you do for inspiration? So yes, going to art galleries, museums, all that, looking at great art, watching movies. When you see a movie, you're thinking about the color palette. When you go to the grocery store, you're looking at the color palette. Everywhere you go from now on for the rest of your life, you're thinking about color palettes and what's happening, right? So make sure your assigned color is the accent. Colors work together like a family. I love this because the yellow just is sort of like this horrible color. And they're doing everything that you can do wrong in one photo. So we talk about hierarchy in design, and typically that means the biggest thing on the page is the most important, and then everything gets smaller, like an eye chart. But in color, the smallest thing on the page can be the emphasis, the dramatic point that you focus on. Using a series of muted colors and then one strong color gives you this focus. You're going to experiment with many color palettes. The great thing about the tools that we have is you can generate a lot of color palettes easily in Adobe Illustrator. This is more work by Jessica Heish. I love this. Okay, so if she was doing a straight up triadic, secondary triadic, it's orange, purple, and it would be green, but instead she's using this wonderful blue that somehow pops out really well. This one is, if it's a primary triadic, blue, red, and yellow, but instead of yellow, it's kind of a soft green. And then that light blue edges, greenish blue. This for Matilda. If you know the story of Matilda, the terrible school she went to is represented by the chalkboard, the gray board in the background. It's not black, it's sort of a gray, and then all her magic sort of pops out. So contrast, thinking about how colors interact together. This is what you get to do this week. We use color to organize things by variety, by flavors, by, type of wine. These are different kinds of coffee. So it can be sort of an organizing element as well. You're going to play and design and do all these different things, and then you're going to settle down and figure out your Pantone colors, then your CMYK, then your RGB. Make sure your assigned color is sort of the accent. Here's another poster by Jessica Heish, great type designer. I love this gradient. It goes from this sort of orangey yellow to blue, but it makes it feel like the blue is just being hit with a warm light. It's really well done. Usually, like if you go from one complement to the other in a gradient, it turns to mud, but this does not somehow.
Peter, I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
You're saying that make sure the assigned color is an accent color, so you're saying that you don't want it to be the dominant color?
No, I misspoke. I want it to be the dominant color, and
Okay.
it should be the focal point is what I meant.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to clarify that I was understanding.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So these are those levers of colors that you're going to be able to move around: hue, saturation, brightness, temperature. Think about all those aspects of color as you go forward. You are going to, let's go over to the assignment. I don't have it up. My computer crashed right before class started. Isn't that nice when that happens? There we are. All right, so what week are we in? Week 3. Here is the assignment. So, explore color relationships. That's what this should be titled. It says color palette in the presentation. This is a video that shows you exactly how to do this page. This page should literally take you 10, 15 minutes and then you're done. It's just sort of documenting what colors go with your assigned color. It does not in any way dictate the color palette you're going to use. You might say, well, I like pentagram, but I'm going to change out this yellow for something else. So it's just sort of a starting point to sort of kick it off. Then you're going to do the identity package. So here's what the template looks like. There's a video that shows you how to use this template and what to do with it. And then we have the color palette. You've got to pick 5 colors. How to spec colors. There's the video you were asking about, how to do it. And then you're going to put all this together, your identity package, color palette, and submit it by Sunday for an excellent grade and feeling terrific about color. Any questions about the assignment right now? Everyone's good. That's amazing. All right, Enrico. Loving color is a good first step. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing great work this week. We will be on the discussion on Thursday at noon to review anybody's work that has been submitted. You are also welcome to join us at that time for questions and live back and forth, whatever. We're there for you. And then we'll probably do it again on Friday at noon. Wow, we have a nice group here today.
Friday at noon. Where do I get that link?
It's the same discussion link. We just do it again on Friday. So it's always the same. That link for the discussion is the same throughout the month.
Okay,
So
great.
every time you want to go to a discussion, it's always at the same link.
Okay, great.
Peter, I
was
have a
wondering
separate
tonight-
question. Maybe I could ask you after the recording's done.
I'm sorry, say it again, Sabrina.
I have a separate question I need to ask you after the recording is done.
Okay. All right, guys, you all good? Cheryl, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I was wondering if I could download a new set of sketches for you. I didn't really like what I've done, and I redid some sketches, and I was wondering if I could, submit those to you, and you can pick 3 out for me.
Yeah, I guess you're just going to email it to me?
FSO.
Yeah, you can put it on FSO in the discussion, but send me an email. Let me know when it's done so I can go find it and look at it.
Okay. How about the message area on the FSO?
Well, yeah, you can use that. That's not a great way to reach me because I get so many notifications from FSO. Email's the best. Slack is another good place. You can post stuff in Slack, and sometimes if I don't see it, Sabrina will see it, or some of the other instructors will see it and give you some feedback. So Slack is a great tool for that. But if you do submit anything on FSO late and you want me to take another look, send me an email. Let me know about that. All right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, after I did my after I got my critique for my sketches, I redid some of them as well, and I reposted a different.
Okay. So in my section, I haven't graded them yet. So I'll always grade the latest version of whatever you submit.
Okay.
All right. Oops.